It's 1975, and you're riding your Kawasaki H2 down the highway. That green machine screams beneath you like nothing else on the road. This is the story of how Kawasaki went from building warships to creating the most legendary motorcycles of the 70s and 80s. These weren't just bikes, they were freedom machines that defined a generation of American riders. Brothers, let me take you back to where this incredible journey began. Section 1. From warships to two wheels. Kawasaki Heavy Industries didn't start with motorcycles. They started with steel, steam, and the roar of industry that would shape the modern world. Founded in 1896 by Shozo Kawasaki, this company first made its mark building ships and trains, the kind of heavy engineering that required precision, power, and an understanding of what it meant to move fast. By the 1950s, while America was entering its golden age of prosperity, Kawasaki was already a giant in aerospace and industrial manufacturing. They were building jets, helicopters, and machinery that demanded perfection. But here's what makes this story so powerful for us riders. They brought that same engineering excellence, that same attention to raw power and reliability into the world of motorcycles. When Kawasaki looked at the motorcycle market in the late 1950s, they saw an opportunity to do what they did best: build machines that were stronger, faster, and more reliable than anything else on the road. They weren't just entering the motorcycle business. They were bringing decades of experience in building the most demanding machinery on Earth. That aerospace precision, that shipbuilding strength. It was all about to be channeled into creating two-wheeled legends. The foundation was set. The company that had mastered the art of making things move fast and reliably was about to revolutionize how we experienced freedom on American roads. And for those of us who lived through the golden era of motorcycling, we know exactly how that story turned out. In 1961, something historic happened that would change the soundtrack of American highways forever. Section 2. The First Roar. Kawasaki purchased Meguro Manufacturing, a respected Japanese motorcycle company, and suddenly the aerospace giant was in the motorcycle business. But this wasn't just another corporate acquisition. This was the moment when engineering excellence met two-wheeled passion. Their first real statement came with the W1 in 1965, a 650cc vertical twin that announced Kawasaki's arrival with authority. While Honda was focusing on smaller, practical bikes, and Harley was sticking to their traditional V-twin formula, Kawasaki was thinking bigger, thinking faster. The W1 wasn't just transportation, it was a declaration that Japanese engineering could build serious motorcycles for serious riders. What made the W1 special wasn't just its power, though at 650cc, it was impressive for its time. It was the quality. Remember, this was a company that had been building aircraft engines and ship turbines. They understood metallurgy, precision manufacturing, and what it took to make machines perform under stress. When they built the W1, they built it like they built everything else: to last, to perform, and to exceed expectations. For American riders in the mid-60s, this was revolutionary. Here was a bike that offered the reliability of Japanese engineering with the power and presence that American roads demanded. The W1 might not have had the legendary status of what was coming next, but it was the foundation stone. It proved that Kawasaki could build serious motorcycles, and it set the stage for the two-stroke revolution that would make them legends. The groundwork was laid, and the best was yet to come. By the mid-60s, Kawasaki had learned something crucial about American riders. We didn't just want reliable transportation, we wanted excitement. We wanted machines that could make our hearts race and our neighbors take notice. And that's exactly what they delivered with their Samurai series, starting with the A1 in 1966. Section 3. The two-stroke revolution begins. The A1 Samurai was Kawasaki's first real taste of what two-stroke performance could deliver. At 250cc, it was putting out power that bigger four-stroke engines struggled to match, but more importantly, it was teaching Kawasaki's engineers everything they needed to know about building high-performance two-strokes, lessons that would soon create legends. What made these early Samurais special was their character. Two-stroke engines don't just run differently, they sound different, they feel different, they demand different riding techniques. For those of us who cut our teeth on these machines, we learn to love that distinctive two-stroke bark, that explosive power delivery, and yes, even that blue smoke trailing behind us as we carved through mountain roads or cruised Main Street on a Saturday night. The A7 Avenger followed in 1967, bumping up to 350cc and really starting to show what Kawasaki two-strokes could do. These weren't just motorcycles, they were training grounds for what was coming next. Every mile ridden on a Samurai was teaching Kawasaki more about what American riders wanted. More power, more speed, more excitement. By 1969, the stage was set. Kawasaki had mastered two-stroke technology, understood American riding culture, and was ready to unleash something that would change motorcycling forever. The revolution was about to begin. Brothers, let me tell you about the machine that changed everything. The 1969 Kawasaki Mach 3 H1. Section 4, the Widowmaker Arrives. When that 500cc two-stroke triple hit American dealerships, it wasn't just another motorcycle launch. It was the arrival of a legend that would define an entire era of motorcycling. The H1 was unlike anything American riders had ever experienced. That three-cylinder two-stroke engine didn't just make power, it made 60 horsepower in a package that weighed just 400 pounds. In 1969, that was supercar performance on two wheels. The power-to-weight ratio was so extreme that the H1 could outrun most cars on the road, and it did it with a sound that was pure music. That distinctive two-stroke triple bark that announced your arrival from miles away. But here's what made the H1 truly legendary. It was dangerous as hell, and we loved it for exactly that reason. The power delivery was violent, the handling was challenging, and if you weren't paying attention, that front wheel was coming up whether you wanted it to or not. They called it the Widowmaker, and for good reason. This wasn't a motorcycle for weekend riders. This was a machine that demanded respect, skill, and courage. For those of us who were there, who experienced the 70s on an H1, we understood something that modern riders might not. Sometimes the best machines are the ones that keep you on your toes. The H1 taught you to be a better rider, simply because you had to be. It rewarded skill and punished complacency, and riding one successfully was a badge of honor that marked you as someone who understood what real motorcycling was about. If you're enjoying this trip down memory lane and you haven't subscribed yet, you're missing out on stories just like this one. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our motorcycle history deep dives. Just when we thought Kawasaki couldn't get any wilder, they proved us wrong with the 1972 H2 Mark IV. Section 5, the Ultimate Screamer. If the H1 was a wake-up call to American motorcycling, the H2 was a full-blown revolution. This 750cc two-stroke triple didn't just raise the bar, it launched the bar into orbit and left it there. The numbers tell part of the story. 74 horsepower from 750cc in 1972 was absolutely staggering. But numbers can't capture what it felt like to twist the throttle on an H2. That explosion of power, that instant acceleration that could snap your neck if you weren't ready. The way it would lift the front wheel in first, second, and if you were brave enough, third gear. This wasn't just fast, this was rocket ship fast, delivered with all the subtlety of a lightning strike. What made the H2 legendary wasn't just its performance, it was its personality. That distinctive Kawasaki green paint job became iconic, but it was what happened when you fired up that triple that really mattered. The exhaust note was unmistakable, a high-pitched scream that rose through the RPM range like nothing else on the road. When an H2 went by, everyone knew exactly what they were hearing. The H2 represented the peak of the two-stroke era, the moment when Kawasaki's engineers said, "Let's build the fastest, most exciting motorcycle we can possibly create," and then actually did it. For riders in the mid-70s, owning an H2 wasn't just about transportation. It was about making a statement that you were serious about speed, serious about performance, and serious about experiencing the absolute edge of what motorcycling could offer. These machines defined what it meant to ride fast in America during the greatest era of motorcycling freedom. While the world was still trying to figure out how to handle the H2's explosive power, Kawasaki was already working on their next masterstroke. In 1972, the same year they unleashed the Mach 4, they also introduced the Z1. Section 6. Beyond the two strokes. A machine that would prove Kawasaki could build legendary four-strokes just as well as they built legendary two-strokes. The Z1 was Kawasaki's answer to Honda's CB750, but they didn't just match Honda's innovation, they obliterated it. That 903 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine produced 82 horsepower and could push the Z1 to speeds that made it the fastest production motorcycle in the world. But more than just being fast, the Z1 was sophisticated. It had double overhead cams, 4 carburetors, and engineering that showed the world Kawasaki could build refined, reliable power plants when they wanted to. What made the Z1 special for American riders was how it combined that explosive Kawasaki performance with genuine everyday usability. You could ride a Z1 to work every day, then take it out on Sunday and embarrass just about anything else on the road. It was fast enough to thrill experienced riders, but civilized enough that you didn't need a death wish to enjoy it. The Z1 also established another Kawasaki tradition, building bikes that looked as good as they performed. That distinctive styling with the 4 exhaust pipes and muscular proportions created a visual signature that said "serious performance machine" from across a parking lot. When you saw a Z1, you knew you were looking at something special. By the mid-70s, Kawasaki had proven they could dominate with 2 strokes and 4 strokes alike. They weren't just building fast motorcycles, they were defining what fast motorcycles should be. Section 7. The Racing Dynasty. While Kawasaki was building legends for the street, they were also writing history on the racetrack. The late 70s and early 80s saw Kawasaki establish a racing dynasty that would cement their reputation as builders of the ultimate performance machines. This wasn't just about winning races. This was about proving that Kawasaki engineering was the best in the world. The KR250 and KR350 Grand Prix racers were absolutely dominant in the late 70s. Cork Bollington's back-to-back world championships in 1978 and 1979 weren't just victories, they were demonstrations of Kawasaki's 2-stroke mastery. These machines were taking the same technology that powered our street bikes and pushing it to its absolute limits, proving that Kawasaki's approach to performance was genuinely world-class. But it was superbike racing where Kawasaki really made their mark for American riders. Eddie Lawson's AMA Superbike Championships on Kawasaki machinery showed that these green machines could dominate the kind of racing that mattered most to us, racing that used motorcycles we could actually buy. When Lawson was winning races on a Kawasaki, it validated every choice we'd made to ride these legendary machines. The racing success wasn't just about bragging rights, it was about development. Every innovation that helped Kawasaki win on the track eventually made its way to the street bikes we were riding. Better suspension, more efficient engine designs, improved aerodynamics. The racetrack was Kawasaki's laboratory, and we were the beneficiaries. For those of us following racing in the late 70s and early 80s, seeing Kawasaki dominate was personal. These weren't just machines winning races, they were our machines, representing our choice in motorcycles, proving to the world that we'd chosen correctly when we bought green. In 1984, Kawasaki did something that changed motorcycling forever. They introduced the GPZ 900R Ninja. Section 8. The Ninja Revolution. This wasn't just another fast motorcycle. This was the machine that redefined what a sport bike could be, and it arrived at the perfect moment in American motorcycle culture. We were ready for something revolutionary, and Kawasaki delivered it in spectacular fashion. The original Ninja wasn't just fast, it was the first production motorcycle to exceed 150 miles per hour. That 908 cubic centimeter inline-4 was producing 115 horsepower, but more importantly, it was wrapped in bodywork that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. This was speed made visible, performance you could see before you even started the engine. The Ninja looked fast standing still, but here's what made the Ninja era so special for American riders. It arrived just as we were entering the Reagan boom years. The economy was strong, we had money to spend, and Kawasaki gave us the ultimate expression of 80s performance and style. The Ninja wasn't just transportation or even just recreation. It was a statement about who you were and what you valued: speed, technology, and the cutting edge of design. The Ninja also marked Kawasaki's evolution from building powerful but raw machines to creating sophisticated sport bikes that could perform at the highest levels while still being rideable every day. The original Ninja was fast enough to satisfy the most demanding riders, but civilized enough that you could actually use all that performance without risking life and limb every time you rode. By the mid-80s, the Ninja had become more than just a motorcycle model. It was a brand within a brand, representing Kawasaki's absolute commitment to building the fastest, most advanced sport bikes money could buy. If this story of Kawasaki's incredible journey has brought back memories of your own riding days, share this video with your fellow riders. Let's spread the word about the machines that defined our generation and the freedom we found on two wheels. Section 9. Building the culture. Beyond just building incredible machines, Kawasaki played a crucial role in shaping American motorcycle culture during its golden age. These weren't just vehicles, they were catalysts for a lifestyle that celebrated freedom, individuality, and the pure joy of the open road. For those of us who lived through this era, Kawasaki motorcycles weren't just what we rode, they were part of who we were. Think about the bike rallies, the weekend rides through mountain passes, the impromptu races on empty highways late at night. Kawasaki riders had a reputation. We were the ones who chose the wildest machines, who weren't satisfied with safe and predictable. We wanted excitement, and Kawasaki delivered it in spades. The H1 and H2 riders were legends at every bike meet. The guys with stories that started with, "So there I was doing 120 on my Mach 4 when..." Kawasaki also understood American customization culture better than most manufacturers. These bikes were platforms for personal expression. You could buy an H2 and make it uniquely yours. Different exhaust systems, custom paint jobs, performance modifications that made an already wild machine even wilder. Kawasaki motorcycles encouraged this kind of personalization because they were built with enough strength and flexibility to handle whatever modifications riders dreamed up. The dealership experience was different too. Kawasaki dealers in the 70s and 80s weren't just selling transportation, they were selling adventure. They understood that their customers were buying into a lifestyle, and they supported that lifestyle with knowledge, parts, and the kind of service that kept these high-performance machines running at their best. Most importantly, Kawasaki motorcycles created communities. H1 owners knew other H1 owners. Ninja riders recognized something special in each other. These machines were conversation starters, friendship builders, and the foundation for countless stories that we're still telling decades later. Section 10. Legacy and Influence. As we moved through the 1980s and beyond, it became clear that Kawasaki hadn't just built great motorcycles, they had fundamentally changed what motorcycles could be. The innovations that started with the H1's two-stroke Fury and evolved through the Ninja's sophisticated speed became the foundation for everything that followed in motorcycling. Consider what Kawasaki taught the industry, that raw power could be combined with reliability, that advanced technology didn't have to sacrifice character, and that riders were ready for machines that pushed boundaries rather than played it safe. These lessons influenced every manufacturer and shaped the sport bikes, adventure bikes, and performance cruisers that followed. The Kawasaki approach, engineer for maximum performance, then figure out how to make it reliable, became the template for modern motorcycle development. Today's riders might take 200 horsepower sport bikes for granted, but that all started with Kawasaki's willingness to build the H2 when everyone else thought 500cc two-stroke triples were too crazy to work. For those of us who experienced the golden age firsthand, Kawasaki's legacy is deeply personal. These machines taught us what motorcycles could do, what riding could feel like, and what freedom really meant. The H1 that taught you to ride with respect and skill. The Z1 that showed you sophisticated power. The original Ninja that demonstrated what the future looked like. Modern Kawasaki's still carry that DNA. The ZX14, the ZH2, the current Ninja lineup all trace their heritage back to those legendary machines of the 70s and 80s. They're faster, more sophisticated, and more reliable, but they still carry that essential Kawasaki character, the willingness to push limits and the engineering excellence to do it successfully. The green machines didn't just give us great motorcycles, they gave us memories, experiences, and stories that have lasted a lifetime. From shipyards to superbikes, Kawasaki built machines that earned respect through performance. Those green bikes didn't just carry riders, they created legends. If you enjoyed this journey through motorcycle history, subscribe for more stories and share your favorite Kawasaki memory in the comments. Thanks for riding along.